Alright, what's going on, everybody? I think the music's going to take over and cut my shit off. Let's hope it don't. But, oh yeah, I'm seeing some lag. It's going to try. Fucking shit. Don't do it. Don't do it. Anyways, sorry. What's going on, everybody? To all my witches out there, people that are magical practitioners alike, magicians, whatever, wizards, whatever you want to call yourself. Don't matter, shamans. But witches especially, for some reason. I want to talk to the witches. See, I'm a ceremonial magician, but I'm a witch, too. I like calling myself a witch. Maybe I shouldn't call myself a witch because I like calling myself a witch, but some very witchy about me. Ooh. Anyways, I'm just babbling. But I'm going to play a little bit of Christopher Penzack's The Inner Temple of Witchcraft for you. One part about the science, one part about witch and the older meanings of the word witch and where it comes from and blah, 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 blah. Just as a precursor for me to figure out what the fuck I should talk about, because I don't really know. Now, I wasn't able to use the screen recorder so you could see it. Well, actually, you know what? I might be able to. But if I can't use the screen recorder to show you the book as it recorded, because I used my tape recorder that's on my phone that records all the audio around it. But generally when I share it, it says video or audio, so it might let me do it. So you can see the text as it's going at least. But I'm just going to use that as something to talk about so I don't go off ranting on deception and misdirection and misleading people and, conspiracy bullshit again. I don't want to keep talking about that, circling the same train. That being said, I did do a little more research on all that shit. But, like Birch says, the truth, the power, the wisdom. See, I think wisdom is when you take your intelligence and you put it into action and you get wisdom from that. But there's also something to be said for the seeking for knowledge. This is what Birch says. The first one is something I learned from frater Xavier. Taking your intelligence, putting it into action, that gives you wisdom. That's like the action route of wisdom. But going out there and searching with, your intelligence you already have, things you already looked up, now you're looking up new stuff. Someone can tell you their point of view and where they got something, but if you look it up yourself and you read it for yourself, it means more. If someone tells you, then most people don't, but you should check and verify that what they're telling you is accurate, because if you don't, then you really can't bank on it. You know what I mean? You can't go out there and just repeat what other people say, because if they're wrong, then you're wrong. And at least if they're wrong, well, they can say where they got it from and potentially pinpoint, it's like, well, I did bad research. But you just took someone else's word for it. You didn't even do the research, so you look really bad. You know what I mean? But at least if you search it up, then you can come to conclusions and you can do correspondences and say, okay, well, this is weird. This is fucked up, hard to understand. But, it's kind of like this thing that I know about here. And you use that to teach. And this way you can teach other people how it is and how you came up with it and cite where you got it and all that shit. I mean, you don't have to do that, but you can always put that in like the description. I got this information from here, if you don't want to actually put in your video. So your ass is covered, because someone says, holy fuck, you were wrong. It's like, well, okay, but go check my site so I did get it from somewhere and I just looked at the wrong information. Whereas if you pretend like it's your information and it turns out it's not, and you didn't even fact check it or see if it's real, then you're fucked. But anyways, that's what I don't want to go off on anymore. I'm tired of talking about, that kind of shit. So, the point of that was, it's the seeking of knowledge that you get wisdom or something like that Birch says. So I think when you put those two ideas together, like taking action on the intelligence, on the, all the information you find, all the information can give you intelligence. So you can talk about stuff like something about it. But then it's when you put it in action that you can actually comment on the procedure. So, for example, you read the book, Kabbalah, Great Works, Transformation, and you know what they explain in the book what's supposed to happen. for you, when you do it yourself, you're going to have different experiences, and you're going to be able to tell exactly how it does it for you. Like, for example, before I read the book, we could talk about it, doing my practice and all that, and even when I first started, I could tell you stuff about, what it's supposed to do, what it's designed to do. But then after doing it, I can actually tell you exactly what it does do. And then, like, I'm on record, I'm on here saying all these other things that aren't even in the book about it. How it helps you. But anyways, doesn't matter. But, the book tells you it helps you with, like, psychic energy, psychic attack. Also, if there is astral entities up there, they know where you are, but they can't touch you and that shit. That's what it says. But then I go into all these other things that it's useful for that I haven't got from any book. And even, for example, like the Inner Temple of Witchcraft, I only read, I had them all. You know what? I probably did read it, actually. But there's a part in here where he talks about a W is more like a double V, and the French word for W is W. And I have a podcast that's got to be at least almost 2 years old now that I talk about that exact thing, but it wasn't about witch. It was about Jesus, and how when the name Jesus was around, J wasn't a letter yet, neither was W or V. I think those are the last 3 letters to come in, and I could be wrong about one of those, but when I talk about witch and all the meanings of what it is, same as Wicca, Wiccan, and all that, and how it goes from the W to the V, even though those letters look the same. But in English, it's like a misdirection once again. No, it's not a double V, it's a double U. It's like, why would it be a double vowel when it's a consonant? Right there. It's like deception and etymology. This isn't to start a conspiracy. This is just so people take it upon themselves to study some etymology and words and letters. It's so important. If you are a witch, that means you do spell work. You use spells. You use words to your benefit. Well, if you don't know the etymology and history and what these letters are used for, if they're male or female, positive or negative, if you don't know, where the design came from, and a little bit about that stuff, you don't have to figure it all at once, but you start a little bit of study on the side, so you know a little bit, and then by pointing your mind in that direction, more information will come to you with that. Simply, that's what I do. That's all I have to do now. I have this great connection with my subconscious mind that whatever direction I point my mind at, meaning I want to learn about this, okay? So I don't just go into meditation and say, hey, subconscious, I need to know everything about the letter W, okay? Come on, chop. Fucking deadline here. No, I don't do that. What I do is I may say something like that, and turn it into some kind of fucking speaking in tongues shit while I'm meditating, just weird sounds, but always focusing on the W, whatever. Maybe something like that at some point. But the first thing I'm going to do is probably Wikipedia it, and get that fucking narrative. And you can say, well, Wikipedia is not accurate, or the definitions and dictionaries are not accurate. They may not be completely accurate, and there may be other things and other associations, but the majority of people use that. So anything the majority of people use is in that thing we like to call the collective consciousness. So regardless if you accept it or not, if you're a witch and trying to affect your reality, well, you best know what's in that collective. And there's a lot of little tricks like that. The most popular ways people get knowledge, such as Google it, well, that's something important to know. Now, Google it has only been around for so long, but same with Wikipedia. So the older dictionaries and shit like that you can get online now, but are the same as the old books that we used to use. Like, I remember having to use a book in class as a kid and finding dictionaries. And when I was in jail and I was trying to rhyme and make raps, I used, what the fuck's it called? For synonyms. Synonyms? Is that what it is? Anyways, this is a book. It gives you, it's like, whatever word you want to use, it'll give you all the other words that mean that same thing. And this way, it's easier to write rhymes, right? So you want to say someone's a cracker fucking ass jack, piece of fucking flash bass, whatever you want to fucking say. But, if you want to do an elaborate rhyme, and you want to rhyme elephant with fucking snow, but you need to find another word for snow. I don't know if you're going to find one close to elephant, but, oh, it's blurry because the snow is like a flurry. You know what I mean? Snow and flurries can be kind of the same thing. So all these books, I remember using these books. These were books. Well, we have access to that online now. But these things are in the collective. You know, all the new minds are part of the Google it and Wikipedia and all that, you know. And I mean, that's pretty big from like 2000 to now. It's 20 years. But prior to that, the dictionaries, the Websters and all that, that's like centuries. And don't discount everything your ancestors know, because that's also in the collective. The only time I think a collective opinion or view can be kind of like erased is if the majority of the population on Earth now are in disagreement with the old ways. I think that's something. But, I mean, Christianity was ruling this place for a while, and so maybe not, because if they had it their way, they would have erased all their beliefs off. But yet, you can intuitively get knowledge all day long about what your ancestors did. Who knows if it's completely accurate or not? But when you start getting these ideas of things that you've never read in a book that your ancestors may or may not have done from some source via pictures, like a fucking video, or like you're dreaming, well, it's fucking mind-blowing when it happens. I mean, it doesn't happen like every day or anything like that for me, but there has been times it's like, whoa, man, like, that's just so much proof that what I'm doing is like on the right track and real and all that, you know? But that's just a sidestep. For some reason I got onto the collective. What the fuck was I going with first? What the fuck was I talking about prior to that? I don't even fucking remember now. But dictionaries, definitions, yeah. So you want to know what your letters mean and all that, because you are bending these words to do your will. So a smart and a witch that's what they would do. And I'm telling you right now, if your mind is in the correct place, you don't have to look up anything occult. You can look up the 7 musical notes, and you're going to see so many things that have to do with the occult in there. I mean, what was it, Pythagoras that invented that? You know, the guy who, it was a math guy who invented music, realizing, you know, a string on a guitar. So the string is this long, that's 1. Well, you take that 1 and you divide it by this and make it 2 pieces, but it's not like 2 whole pieces. It's half of 1 piece each. That's where your minus, subtraction, eventually division comes from that guy right there. But he also realized you hold that down, it makes a different sound than whenever there's just nothing holding it, nothing holding it here, and then over here, and then you touch it in different ways. So by dividing these chords in halves, or like a quarter up here of it was pushed down, or an eighth of it up here is pushed down, it would make a lower sound, and the closer you got over here made a higher sound. That is as occult as you can get, because most people couldn't even tell you where music came from. Right? So, there's occult knowledge in everything you look at. Everything you look at. So if your mind's in the right place, then you don't even have to look up anything occult anymore. And that's the problem I got into. It's like, fuck, I want some new fucking information to look at, and I couldn't find anybody, and everybody I looked at was just like full of shit or something I already knew. So it's like, what the fuck do I do? And so I just stopped watching YouTube for a while, and then just everything around me started unveiling itself to me. Numbers, letters, patterns, things my wife would say, I would just start talking back, and it's like this and it's like that, and then I had a video already. Like I got a concept for the video, you know what I mean? So if you're in the stagnation point where you don't know what else to learn, you're kind of like, you obviously know you don't, because like when I was there, I knew I didn't know everything. There's no fucking way I knew everything, right? But in the same sense, it's like I'm at the top of my grade right now, and I'm not moving. I know there's more I need to know, but it's like it's not being revealed to me. So, you know, I didn't know what to do. And then it wasn't until like later, like I said, things started revealing to me. So then I realized that, okay, it's because I learned all I needed to learn via YouTube and the information and searching and all that. It's like, okay, I got to push it into practice, and I got to keep my eyes open around me to let all this information come to me. And this was a big thing that I actually had to really start focusing like more time in meditation and just laying there trying to wait for ideas to come to me kind of thing, you know, but by studying on something. But oh yeah, that's what I was talking about. Thank you. This is how I point my mind at stuff. So when I want to know something all about the letter W, I start by doing the research, and that shows my mind, okay, he wants to know about this. Okay, what do we know about this? As long as I'm using my conscious mind, my subconscious is getting all that information collected and ready to go, that everything I've ever seen or went by or whatever. And if I do have a good connection there, well, then I have more than just the memories and stuff I know about the W. I have access to that unconscious. that collective unconscious or collective consciousness, whatever the fuck you want to call it, okay? Maybe there's two, but the one I'm talking about is the one where all the data is stored and all that. When you get that connection, then all this shit can come to you. And this is kind of what I'm talking about. I said the exact same thing that Christopher Penzack said, and I don't think I had read the book at that time. You know what I mean? I was talking about in reference to Jesus. We had the same fucking idea. Well, why is that? Well, it's because he previously already said it. And this book was saved on my phone, but I had never read it yet. But I had access to what he fucking wrote down in a book that I never even read yet because I had that connection. You know what I mean? That or I'm just as smart as him, and I don't think that's true. I mean, Christopher Penzack is a very successful witch. Wiccan, I think he's just a witch or whatever. He's a gay man, but he's very fucking, he's amazing. His books are fucking top notch. Like, his money book, his money magic, everything. The inner temple, outer temple, all those temples of witchcraft series, every single fucking one of them is bang on. Right? And it is so much so that Birch, like this new intro class, I don't know about him now. But anyways, if you watch Birch's series on YouTube, he'll tell you in the first intro to witchcraft, he tells people that that's the book he uses when he's teaching witchcraft. And here's the cool thing. So when Birch teaches, he has a curriculum that he goes by to teach people. But he tells the students and even gives homework from that book. Before that, it was Drawing Down the Moon or Spiral Dance. But so they take that book home. And the point of it is for them to read so much every night and do, because there's exercises, there's ritual, there's so much in that first book. The second book too is, anyways. So he's like, we barely discuss it in class because the book is made to give them a second perspective. So they all study my perspective, and that's great, and they're going to eventually turn it into their own perspective, mixed with his. But if they got two perspectives, they're learning at the same time, well, they can draw correlations and all that. It's just more helpful, right? So he teaches one thing. He uses Christopher Penzack's book as another way to teach while they're doing that. So it's like two different perspectives, and this way if they have questions on the book, they can ask him. He's a live person. That's what I gathered from that. So he tells you that's a really good book to read. So that's why I read it. But you did not disappoint. Christopher and Laura Birch disappointed me by that suggestion or making that book, man. It was amazing. So this is like the introduction of the book you're going to hear. Probably like 4 pages out. I'm rereading it just for something to do. When I'm bored at work and I don't want to listen to music, this is what I've been doing. So as I come to these new parts that I think I have something to talk about. Now, I have something to talk about this, but I just don't remember what the fuck it is. So I'm going to play it right now for you. And then I'm going to come back on. But yeah, I had something I wanted to talk about. I'm hoping it's going to spark, but I'm not getting anything. You know, and a while ago I couldn't remember what the fuck I was talking about. And I was talking about pointing your mind at something, which I don't even know if I finished that thought. But basically, what that means is, so you want to learn about something. It's the same thing for everything. So when you start doing magic, this is why it's important, you know. This is why there's self-dedication and self-initiations and shit like that. Because you need to do something symbolic to tell your mind you're fucking serious. And, you know, hopefully, if you have a bad habit, well, you use your study and temple time and ritual and meditation and all that visualization, all the things you're going to do. This is going to take a big part of your day. So you got to make it work, right? You do some of it in the shower. You do some of it on your commute to work. You do some of it at night when everybody's asleep. You do some of it when you first wake up in the morning. And then maybe during the day you can squeeze an hour or two. That most people think that's the only time you're doing this. You know what I mean? But then when you have the dishes on, you're learning, or you're fucking doing something, when you're vacuuming the house, when whatever, you're cleaning up, you know? That's how you squeeze this stuff in, so you're doing it for a large portion of your day. But, you know, it's only a couple hours a day. That don't do like I did. I mean, there's so many benefits that came from me doing it so extreme, all day long, non-stop occult for the last, like, almost 5 years now. Well, probably about 3 years non-stop. And these last 2 years I've been kind of fading out, fading in, fading out, you know. I'm very hard for me to be in balance. I'm one extreme to the fucking next, you know, with everything. But, a lot of benefits to that. Reprogram my mind super fast. And magic was real, because that's all I listen to all day long, every fucking day. Frater, birch, New Age, Ralph, fucking shaman, fucking whoever, man, everybody that I was into, everybody I've ever played on here, everything, you know. And whatever I need to know about, fucking, I wanted to learn about how to heal my body. Well, I found fucking, I can't remember his fucking name. Fuck, I hate that. But anyways, healing is voltage, all about the pH level and how to get electrolytes into your body properly, that so your cells are strong enough to fucking be able to do the rebirth, live and die cycle, and, you know, all that shit over and over again. So I put on Jerry Tennant's information, and then as I'm listening to that, I'm learning about that, I'm writing down notes, all this shit, how I can incorporate it into my practice. And I mean, it's super important, because every time I do a spell, if I have to do healing magic for somebody, like whether it's my daughter who's got a throat infection, well, I'm targeting those cells in her throat that are infected. And that's exactly what I'm doing. Not only am I making a spell directly to tell those cells what to do, either die or remake or whatever the case is, and, you know, that's where you look up this shit and you see if there's any doctors that have any information on exactly what happens at the cellular level when someone has a throat infection. And then you get that information down, plus the information on how to heal it. You connect that together within a fucking statement of intent that is, I am so fucking grateful and thankful and honored, and I have nothing but respect and adoration for, let's say, Venus or the moon or Mercury, Archangel Raphael, when it's healing, right? That's what I'm talking about. For healing, blah, 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 blah. And you put all that information in there. So seeing that information is useful. But then when you put it into practice, then you get the wisdom from it. But by just aiming your mind at these things, you're going to get more information. More of it's going to come to you. So when I pointed at Jerry Tennant, I learned so much. It wasn't long after that I learned all the importance about breathing, and then they went together so perfectly that it was infallible. It was not fallible. It was unbelievable how they were so connected. You know what I mean? And Jerry Tennant's this fucking doctor who was practicing in like Texas in the Hindu yogi science of breath. You know what I mean? Well, listen to that title. Not too many Texans are going to be into that kind of shit. Yet, you know, he wasn't into that. I'm not saying that, but a lot of the things that I could compare them, and they worked in coordination with each other. And then so I made spells and practices and rituals all designed on those things, using those, everything that goes along with that. I kind of fucked up what I'm saying there for a second there, because I was trying to fucking say something specific, and the words weren't coming to me. But when you point your mind at what you want, it might take a day or two. So don't just be sporadic and scattered. So you want to learn about magic. Okay, specifically, you want to know where to start initiations. Well, focus on that. Find videos about that. Watch things about that. Fight the temptation and urge to start learning about the third eye, or the chakras, or meditation, or tools, the trade, or different paths, or whatever. I mean, you can do all that, but you're going to scatter your mind. You say, okay, well, does he want to know, or does he or she want to know about this, or 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 about this? Then you're just going to get a headache, go to bed, and you're not going to learn anything. So, point out what you want. Right? Take notes. That's probably the best thing you can do. You don't even have to keep them. If you're worried about someone finding you, don't even have to keep them. Don't even have to keep them. But take notes. Write them down. Whatever. Type them. Doesn't matter. Your notes. A notepad on your fucking phone. Doesn't matter. Just write whatever down, okay? Because that'll help you get ideas, come to ideas. It'll help you remember it. It'll show symbolically that you are fucking serious about this. It's not just another whim. You're not just watching TV, blah, 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 blah. So, point your mind at what you want, and then you will get an abundance of information. Whenever you end up plateauing, like I was talking about, where you learned all you can learn from YouTube and videos and all that, you know, maybe you are practicing.
Okay.
You're only practicing like an hour a day, and you could probably crank that up, especially because you want to be able to manifest faster, whatever the case is. But you're spending all your time looking at shit, focusing on the fact that your manifestations aren't coming fast, therefore they're not going to come fast because that's what you're manifesting. But anyways, start practicing, start writing, man. Probably the best thing you can do is just start writing. Like, just sit there and just about anything you want. Like, whatever comes to your mind, basically, is what I'm saying. But, you know, one of these things you're serious about, whatever it is you want to learn right now, here's the best thing you can fucking do, is put a video on that you already watched. You can just watch it, and you'll get new information. I'm telling you, the more you watch the same content, and I know you can't always just do it because it's boring, back-to-back shit, but something you've already watched that you know about, go back to your liked or your viewed or your history or whatever the case is, rewatch it, take down notes, you know, and then out of the notes, highlight the most important things that you fucking really want to learn about. You know, put question marks. Maybe leave a space in between and write the questions. You don't have to ask it out loud. Saying, what do I need to know about this? You know, if you want to be very specific, say to your subconscious mind, say to the deity of the week, or the deity that's most associated with that. And if you don't know and you don't want to start up a new line of research, well, just use the elements. Every one of the days of the week are associated with an element. So Saturn, Sun, and Mercury are air. Mars is fire, Moon and Jupiter are water, and Venus is earth, okay? Don't think it any more complicated than that. And from there, that's what you do. You fucking just figure out which one of those are best associated with what the fuck you want to do. Whatever, fucking lost my train of thought. Someone's coming out of my house. The magic you want to do. Well, no, sorry. Okay, what you wanted to learn. Okay, so you wrote the question underneath the fucking information you wanted. From there, that's when you, let's say it's about your emotions. How do you connect your minds? Well, that's a question that you could probably ask any of them, but the moon would be the best. The moon, not necessarily Jupiter, but the moon would be the best. Mars and all the air signs are connected to your conscious mind. However, Mercury is both. It's conscious and subconscious is one way to look at it. I mean, it's twins. It's got polarity or duality right within the fucking sign, right? So you could ask Mercury, but Mercury is a very conscious mind sign, but it's like higher conscious mind stuff. It's like third eye stuff. It's things that you can connect to your conscious mind on a different level. So it's not just like your conscious mind, because I watch something and then people will say the conscious mind is connected to it's Mercury, it's this, it's that. It's like, it's not though. Mercury is not completely the conscious mind. He's hermaphroditic, both male and female. What are our minds? Well, our minds are the subconscious. I mean, technically there'd be three, but there's not really three minds, right? We got the conscious mind, we have our unconscious with the subconscious. They're both kind of connected to each other. One is where the emotions are stored. The other one is what carries out the actions that happen within your life. So you talk to your subconscious. The subconscious tells your unconscious what to do, more or less. Is how I interpret it, understand it, and teach it. So the subconscious has the limbic system, if you want to go there, and the limbic system is the emotional mind with all those raw deities in it. It's got Venus in there, who can be very loving and kind, but if you fucking piss her off and cheat on her, she can become the dark side of Venus, and Mars will come in and help her out as well, and you'll get the dark side of passion. And what happens when you fuck over someone who was passionate and loved you? You know, you get the dark side of both of those, and that's where Lucifer and the devil come from. Those two dark sides, Saturn is the dark side of Satan, right? But all that bullshit aside, the important part, man, I'm like so far off, but so that's the limbic mind. That's like the subconscious, and then the unconscious would be the reptilian brainstem that carries out the functions. So the neocortex is the conscious mind that has sensory faculties attached to it. So I'm speaking right now using my mouth, sound for me to hear it, watching myself as I'm doing that. I'm not really using my center, my touch right now. So I'm using kind of like 3 out of the 5 I have, right? Without this neocortex, it'd be like a dog. I can make sounds like a bark, I can breathe, and I can see, but I don't have the capability to remember, or even learn, or retain. That's why nowadays, you can't even teach them. If we came from monkeys, and I'm not saying we didn't, but whatever we came from, we can't replicate that. Like, it's how far advanced we are now. Teach a monkey, we can teach monkeys sign language for the most part, and they can kind of teach it to each other, but it's like they're not picking up the language, and they don't remember it from generation to generation. And even more so, the way it apparently worked was we taught our kids, and our kids taught our kids, and our kids and kids. The only way we could get somewhere with monkeys, and even by doing this, we can't get nowhere near the way we are. We'd have to keep teaching the monkeys every fucking generation. But then it's just like teaching a dog a trick. You still have to teach every new dog that trick. Dogs don't come out just knowing that shit. And what I'm saying is that humans don't just come out talking, but humans are able to teach other humans. Well, monkeys aren't able to teach other monkeys these things. They can teach the monkeys things, but they can't teach them speech that we know and can do. I don't know why I got into that, but it doesn't matter. Back to what I was talking about. So that's your 3 levels of your brain. So the unconscious basically carries it out, right? The unconscious tells your body whether to go in the parasympathetic or the sympathetic nervous system, meaning you're either going to be in fight or flight, or you're going to be relaxing. Those are the 2 that it bounces from. Oh, I'm going to put you on hold because you're going my way.
Someone asked them or see how they refer to themselves. The science, one of the first definitions I learned from my early teachers, trained in the Kabbalah tradition, was witchcraft is an art science, and religion, a witch is one who lives the art science, and religion of witchcraft. You might find this definition strange, as did I, because it brings together some seemingly conflicting ideas. This definition shocked me, because I considered myself a man of science. I was studying chemistry, and probably would have pursued it if my experience with magic hadn't inspired me to pursue my more creative side. At the time, I was very much a prove-it-to-me kind of guy, giving no one an inch unless they could back up their statements. And I found in my witchy friend someone who could. She explained to me the theories behind spells and psychic powers. I wasn't sure I agreed, but it did intrigue me enough to not dismiss it as New Age kookiness. Then my friend introduced me to one of the most advanced, scientific ideas I had encountered at the time, quantum physics. I didn't understand how physics and witchcraft were related until she drew corollaries between ancient philosophies and modern, cutting-edge science. From her viewpoint, she was waiting for modern science to catch up to the ancient truths. The more I learn, the more I am inclined to agree. For the longest time, I ignored the other facets of the definition of witchcraft, namely art and religion, capital I. Considered myself a man of focused on the science of the craft. I looked at witchcraft as an experiment. The experiment yielded wonderful results, but I resisted the other meanings of the tradition. Regardless, they led me to explore myself and my spirituality. The art witchcraft is an art. It is a system based on the cycles of life. Life is change. Plain and simple. Change encourages new expressions of the same patterns and energies. Change encourages creativity. Even though two witches can say the same exact words of a spell, each does it differently. Each brings his or her own personal nuances and tensions, and inflex shines. More often than not, witches would probably write their own spells, creating a personal tradition. Each witch works with the same principles based on the science of witchcraft, but they express it quite differently, elevating the craft to a very beautiful art form. The poetry of magic can bring a tear to the eye and evoke our highest emotions. Song, chant, drumming instruments, poetry, and drama are used in ritual. Whatever the creative expression, no one can doubt that witchcraft is a form of art once they experience it. The spirituality, lastly, in our threefold definition, witchcraft is a religion. In fact, it is called the old religion, for many trace their traditions, roots back to the early mother earth goddess cults of the Paleolithic era. Since I have been teaching witchcraft, I felt the need to change the definition slightly to science, art, and spirituality. The word religion can conjure up some discomfort in those who are seeking witchcraft as an alternative to the more dogmatic religions. Spirituality, to me, carries a gentler connotation to the original meaning of religion. When I say witchcraft is a spirituality, I mean it as a spiritual path. You walk it for nourishment of the soul, to commune with the life force of the universe, and to thereby better know your own life. Misunderstandings surround those new to the path, because of television movies and other stories. People do not realize that witchcraft is a daily commitment to renew yourself in the cycles of the earth, to synchronize yourself with the powers of life. It is a path to enlightenment. Living life as a witch is no easy task. Certain spiritual aspects of witchcraft set it apart from other traditions. First, it is a nature-based spiritual practice. Divinity in all things is recognized, from the land, water, and sky to plants, animals, and people. All material things are seen as an expression of life, as the divine. Witches are often involved in environmental reforms and animal rights groups because of this belief. Witches are polytheistic, meaning we worship more than one deity. We recognize the spirit of life running through all things, but believe it expresses itself through a multitude of faces. I like to think of it as looking at a giant, brilliantly cut diamond with many facets shining, each an expression of the one diamond. Witches focus on divinity in the form of male and ings of the wise women and cunning men of the tribes, a knowledge of healing herbs, remedies, midwiving, and simple charms. We call such skills old wives' tales, but they have endured because there is of history, but it is every bit a part of us, as relevant to our modern cultures as wars of conquest. At the top of the list of myth and magic of the culture, modern witches focus on this particular root in the witchcraft tree, those claiming the name and title of which are truly reclaiming and building on the image of the witch from these ancient days. If you really want to know what the words witch and witchcraft mean as we move into the next century, look at the growing movement of modern witches. If you ask a witch what he or she means by the word, you will get as many definitions as there are witches. And yes, witches can be both women and men. I'm a man and identify myself as a witch. Male witches are not called warlocks. The word warlock can be traced from Scottish, Old English, Germanic, and Indo-European roots, and is now generally regarded to mean deceiver or oath-breaker to those involved in the craft. Such a title was probably associated with witchcraft by those who wanted to defame the practice. When I began my journey into this wonderful world, I was taught that the root of the word wick, or wicca, means wise, for witches were the keepers of the wisdom, evolving into the images of wise women and wizardly men. Another definition was to bend and shape, meaning those who practiced witchcraft could bend and shape the natural forces to do their bidding to make magic. The word witch is actually considered to be Anglo-Saxon in origin, and some feel that only those who are practicing European traditions, or more specifically Celtic Saxon, or Germanic traditions, have the right to claim the title witch. The etymology of the word can myth and magic of the culture. Modern witches focus on this particular root in the possibly be traced back to Sanskrit and the earliest Indo-European languages. Although this could be a popular folk etymology used by many modern witches, the Middle English word wick is traced back to the Old English wiccan, meaning to practice witchcraft. Male and female witches were distinguished through the words wicca and wix respectively. In Middle High German, wiccan means to bewitch or divine the future. In Old German, the word is traced to we, meaning holy. From the Old German to Old Norman, we have the word ve, meaning temple. Notice an interesting shift from the W sound to the V sound. But notice the similar shape of the letters. The letter W actually looks more like double V in our alphabet. In French, the letter is called W. The further back you go, the further away you get from the stereotypical witch, and to a word of sacredness and spirituality. Now you are getting to the true meaning of witch. In modern English, witch is used to refer to both men and women. Wicca refers to the modern revival of witchcraft. After the witch trials and persecutions, what remained of the teaching went underground. Other teachings were lost forever. But the practices were revived, and the surviving traditions came to light in the 20th century. In several modern traditions, witchcraft refers to the practice and art of the craft, such as spells, while the religion is known as Wicca, though you can make a strong distinction between the definitions of witch and Wiccan, or witchcraft and Wicca. Most practitioners accept both words and identities. If you are not sure what to call someone, ask them or see how they refer to themselves. The science, one of the first definitions I learned from my...
Alright, I got these little headphones on. My bigger ones broke. The ones I normally use for recording that are flawless, especially for the podcast. Well, I used to anyways. I know it's annoying though when this fucker moves, it makes fucking sound, so my bad. So what you just heard was Christopher Penzack. As far as I know, I have the PDFs. Oh, I had the PDFs. I got rid of most of my PDFs there recently. Just this makeup space, especially the ones I already read, right? What's the point of keeping them on there? Well, I think there's power to having them with you, you know what I mean? But it's not like having a physical book there with you, mind you, but, you know. Anyways, it doesn't matter. But if you get the PDF from PDF Drive or anywhere else, you generally, it's like it looks like a book. So it's like 2 pages, right? So whenever you try to do the audio part to hear it, it'll go from one page to the next page, or it won't play at all. So that's why this one that I was playing is something through Scribe. So I actually forked out whatever the initial fucking monthly fee. Not a big deal, like $10 or something like that, just to get that book, just to play it for y'all. That's how much I love my people that fucking listen to me. But it wasn't very much of it, like I said, just a little taste of it. So if you want to read that book, you can get that book for free. If you want it to read to you, Scribe isn't the best one to use though. Like Kindle and shit like that will fucking straight up like read the whole book to you. And maybe it's just because I don't know how to use it, because I used Kindles and different things like that in the past. Even like not like a Kindle itself, like a tablet or whatever the fuck the thing is, but like even just the app you can get on your phone. I mean, those things will read the book to you normally. Sorry, my wife's taking my baby for a bath. That's cool. So yeah, that's why it's on for Scribe, just because it was just the easiest, fastest way for me to get something to play. Now, there's more parts in here I'm going to play, hence why I have the book. It wasn't just for the little intro part. You heard about this, how I like how he compares it to a science, and he gets more into that a few pages down the way. And maybe I'll record that and play it for you next time, or whatever the case is. And the reason I'm talking about this is because if I promote Kabbalah and the great work, self-transformation above all things. But not everybody wants to do a Kabbalistic tradition. Not everybody wants to do ceremonial magic, especially women. They are more into witchcraft, and that may be a generalization or even a borderline sexist remark, and it's not meant to be. Just I find women are more in touch with their realm, their earth, you know. It's easier for men to be gullible, first of all, but, you know, think and go all in on ideas of Christ and shit like that and religion and a bunch of crap. But for women, you know, there are women like that. Once again, I think it's the same thing, like 60 and 40. 40% of men are more like women and 40% of women are more like men, but then there's 60% of women that are more like women and 60% of men that are more like men. So, you know, what's a woman and what's a man? It's like, well, there's 60% of men are more like this, but then 40%. So it's like, that's not a big... Anyways, I don't know why I'm saying that. But point is, the reason why I'm saying this now, bringing it up, is because this is, like I said, Birch's intro course, his year and a day, is this book. And this book, Inner Temple of Witchcraft by Christopher Penzack, it is a year and a day course. The exercises, the reading, the homework, everything that's in here, the rituals to get your psychic fucking and meditation processes going. All this shit in this book is a year and a day course on its own. You know what I mean? So you can go Birch, and, you know, if you want to, like, the full experience of Birch, if you were to get one of his programs from Gumroad and read this book and do it at the same time, it'd be like literally learning exactly from Birch, which is kind of what I do. So... because I can't actually be taught by the man. I mean, he does have things, he may have things that he's like zooming and all that, but I'm not ready for that, you know. I prefer very much learning on my own, and if there's something I don't understand, I like to think outside of the box and wait and ask questions to myself and try to figure it out. Because even if I'm wrong, I'll figure it out that way and I'll get it right. You know what I mean? That's how I am. Which is not beneficial whenever you're learning like a new job, because then you make mistakes and people yell at you. But when you're learning spirituality and you're fumbling your way through it and then you're trying to work your way through it, well, there's a difference in being gullible and just believing. Leaving people and trying to do a spiritual tradition like that, that would be wrong. That would be bad. But when you're serious and you're reading books from certain people and you're putting together other traditions and you already have a base and you fumble around, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think it's actually probably preferred. Because you can go learn from someone like Thunder Wizard or Birch or Frater Xavier, but they're going to take you to a certain point, and you're either going to be, if let's say you do everything and they teach you and you're like the best student, then what? Well, you have to figure the rest out. They can take you as far as they are. And even then, some people's egos might come in and see how good you are, and they might not even tell you all the stuff because, you know, and I'm not saying they're like that. I don't think any one of those guys are like that, but I'm just saying eventually at a certain point, you got to take over. People have to lead you down the way. Some people need strict fucking scheduling guidelines, curriculum, you know, here's the homework, here's this, physical person there telling them to do it. This is why you pay for products and stuff like that. Because, you know, I put free books on here all the time, and I don't know how many the majority of people that take them, but it's probably not many. But if I was to offer a course and say what I'm going to do is basically what, you know, let's say the Kabbalah Great Work Self-Transformation, that course itself, say I'm going to teach that. All instead of me putting the free PDF and letting someone do it themselves, which they can do, it's made to be done by themselves, and all the reading in the book and stuff you need, it gives you a book list that you need to go along with it. There's many books you need to read to go along with that curriculum. So it's like one book plus all these other books that you work out of, you know, and, you know, a few of them are the Golden Dawn, the workbook itself, which I have. It's not hard to get either. So if you're thinking, well, it's too hard, I won't be able to do it, even if I get that book, it's like, no, you can get all those books. And if you are stuck, you can always contact me, this guy right here, and I'll help you out. I'll tell you exactly how to do it. There's no worries, man. No fucking worries. The more people that try to spiritually evolve and take control of their life and realize they are creating a reality, and instead of just sitting home watching videos about how we create a reality, why it's true, and then going to the conspiracies of how it was hitting against us, instead of doing that, actually trying to take control. If I can help anybody do that, I'm going to. That's my goal now, is to get as many people at least equal to me, or at least get them, started. And because if they don't like my tradition, or they don't like the things I say, or whatever the case, but they still want to do this, then that's fine. I don't want to be the thing that gets in the way. It's like, well, I got to learn from this fucking guy. No, listen to me, and I will point you to the direction of other people that will teach you better than me. You know what I mean? So that's why I try to offer that. If I don't correspond with you, if I don't fucking do it for you, if the things I say aren't fucking jiving with you, that's fine. Hit me a message and tell me that. I don't care. Fuck it. I'll be brutally honest with me. I'd rather that. You know what I mean? Because I can tell you to go back in all my older videos and look at all the people I've always named. And I mean, well, if you don't listen to me, why would you do that? So you can always send me a message saying, you can either be kind about it and say, well, who are all the people that you would refer beginner, or even maybe someone who's dabbled in it for a while, had some success, but maybe stagnant? Who are other people that I could look at? Like I said before, when I commented on a Ralph Smart video, and some other guy paid me a compliment saying I sound like I know what I'm talking about. He was having trouble with manifestation. If there's any more wisdom I can give him, it would be appreciated. Something to that effect. And the first thing I did, I didn't promote myself. I didn't tell you I didn't tell him to go look at my videos or anything like that, or pay me a fee and I'll give you this or whatever. I referred him to the book Kabbalah, Great Work of Self-Transformation, because it was on Ralph's channel, and because Ralph taught me in many ways. I promoted listening to Ralph is a good place to keep going. Add what Ralph says to all the other stuff. Go watch Frater Xavier's videos. Go watch Birch. You know what I mean? Those are the people I promoted. And then I said, because Kabbalah and Great Work Self-Transformation, Frater Xavier's Mind and Magic channel is an add-on to that book. Just like when Birch is teaching, he uses Temple of Witchcraft. So there's a book, and there's a guy talking. And so this is the same process, so I'm talking about the witchcraft part now, and not the ceremonial magic part. But for ceremonial magic, you have that book, and then you have Frater Xavier. I'm also an additive to that, but not exclusive to Kabbalah and the Great Work Self-Transformation, because unlike Frater Xavier, I don't know where he is in that, if he is at the portal grade or not, which is the last grade. But I'm not at the portal grade. I'm only on my second elemental grade, my third grade altogether, but the neophyte is grade 0, right? Because you're the fool. And then you become the magician after the one. And it's like, well, wouldn't it be the portal grade? It's like, well, yes and no. I mean, a magician is someone who can take care of the health and the finances in my book. It doesn't mean you're an adept magician, but you are now a magician. What's the second card? Well, the second card is, what is it? Not the Empress, it's the High Priestess. The High Priestess is step 2. Is between those two fucking pillars with the moon at your feet, because now the moon is at your will, meaning you have a better understanding of what you can put in your subconscious. And if I'm not mistaken, that is... Anyways, in case I misspeak, I'll stop there. I'll see if I can correct myself and tell you exactly what it is. But all that aside, I'm not saying the tarot cards match that. That's not what I'm saying, because the number 3 would be the Empress, I believe, and that's more of an Earth, and the Venus is rated in it. Yes, that's the first grade. So I'm not saying that, but just a correlation. But so yeah, that's what I did. So if you don't like the things or don't jive with me, you can simply ask me, or you can tell me brutally honest, but I think you have something to offer, but there's something about you I don't like. Maybe it's just I look at you and I see somebody in my past. I think you're arrogant. I have some things I don't agree with, but I think maybe you make some sense sometimes, and just because we disagree on a few things, I'm having trouble getting past that programming, or I don't like you, bud. Who could I learn from that isn't you that would teach me the same stuff, or where did you learn your stuff from so I could take it? But I'm pretty honest. I'm pretty upfront about all that already. Everybody I promote, everybody I ever played is the people I learned from. And it's just as simple as that. But once again, that's the point, right? After you do Birch's courses, after you do Frater's courses, are you just a lifetime student who's always buying their programs? I mean, to me, that's not my goal. My goal is to be able to do this shit myself. Now, I didn't buy a single program from anybody until this year, and I've already had many manifestation successes, but there was this curiosity in the back of my mind saying, I'm pretty positive I know how Frater does his stuff, and I've been doing it as good as I think I was doing. So I bought his programs and everything he said and taught, minus like the specific different rituals and things you do, like egg rituals and dirt rituals and soap rituals and shit like that. Besides that shit, when it comes to the magic and how to implant the suggestion and how he does it, my shit was tit for tat the same thing. The only thing would be different is I don't actually put a fucking spell underneath my candle on a piece of paper. I write the fucking thing right on the candle most of the time, and I'll even add a sigil to that as well. But I don't bother using paper. I put it right on the candle, and this way it burns up. It's one less thing to burn. But I mean, it all gets burnt anyways, right? So that'd be that. But yeah, I was bang on. Like, by looking at his courses, it was... So, I mean, it was a good thing, right? I could have listened to his courses and figured it out my way, and then got the success I could have manifested, and then know it worked. I manifested things, it worked, but I wanted to know if what I was doing was the same as him, or if I discovered something. And it turns out I didn't discover shit. I was tapped into that unconscious or whatever, wherever Frater got his information from, which is partly from the book Kabbalah, Great Works, Self-Transformation, and all the shit he's ever learned, which is also in that collective unconscious that everybody can tap into. You don't need to buy a program if you can connect these two fuckers. And you can simply connect these two fuckers by becoming depolarized, balanced, give up your belief systems and shit that make you on the right or left or up or down, you know. Polarity is positive and negative. And then there's the law of gender, that's the right and the left, okay? But polarity is positive and negative. Are you on the right or left side? That's male and female. There's 4 ways you can be polarized, and you got to make sure you're as close to the center there. Now, you might be more on the left or might be more on the positive, right? Let's say somewhere around here, somewhere out north fucking west, I guess it would be. Maybe you're more around northeast, or maybe you're more around southeast or southwest. Who knows? But you're going to be around one of those places. You try to get in the middle. You connect to the ground. You get through your Saturn chakra opening. But you start these practices. That's the point. That's why I promote Kabbalah and Great Works Self-Transformation. Because as a result of doing that neophyte grade and doing all those rituals like the middle pillar, which puts you in the middle, right? Which makes you like the Empress with the moon at her feet. Okay? By doing the middle pillar and then the banishing is get rid of all your bad karma and juju and the shit you said in the past, you fucking get rid of that before it can affect you. Because you still have all the incoming stuff from all the things you said and did up until you stop doing things that are bad or good for you or whatever the case is. And then you start doing this process to get rid of all that negative self-talk and shit that's gonna be created into the astral, because, you know, it's kind of like a loop or repetitive system. The more you say stuff, the more you give energy, stuff creates in the astral, comes down here. Well, once you are aware of that process, you stop that process from happening, and you only put into the astral what you want to manifest, right? I mean, to a certain extent. So that's what this process does. So you necessarily don't even have to go and get a teacher if you know those basics. If you do the neophyte for the 6 months steady, from there you'll be able to fucking get connection and get all the information to the unconscious. The only issue you might have is like, where do I start? What do I do? Do I just lay down? Do I just point? And that's when for me, this is what I do is I can now lay down, ask questions, and get answers. Prior to that, I would write it down. I had to write it down. Put it on a paper what I wanted to know. I would take that a step further and even put it under my pillow some nights. And then I would have a dream about it a few times in a row sometimes. Sometimes it wouldn't be the first night. But then all of a sudden I'd be working, and all of a sudden I'd get a thought come to me. It's like, holy fuck, that's how this works. Or a circumstance would play out in front of me, and it'd be like the exact same circumstance, just a different, you know, it's a correspondence to what the question I wanted to know. That's... You know, those are, I can't say that happened majority of the time. I think it'd be like 50-50, like crazy weird dreams that explain that after I wrote it in my journal and I realized, holy fuck, that's my answer. Or something happened throughout the day, it would play out, and then boom, there's my answer. And that's how I started getting answers. And then, you know, you add to that the magic. Whatever you want to know, make a candle for it. If you're listening to me, doing magic is simply getting symbolic representations, symbolic suggestions into your mind. So if you want information, you want a deity to teach you. That's what witchcraft is, right? It's not learning from other people necessarily. I mean, you can totally learn from people, covens. That's what this is all for. But you pick a deity, you learn everything about that deity, and that deity is somebody you like. So maybe it's a deity that brings you money, and whatever the case is. Now, your chart comes in handy because it'll tell you where your karma is, what you need to work on in this lifetime and all that. So then you can pick a deity based on that. But if you don't know that, or you don't have your birthday yet, but you want to start, well then you start doing research on some deities that you might like or whatever. And then by taking on that deity, doing a dedication to that deity, a self-initiation or whatever the case is, and, you know, being grateful to that deity for taking you on as a fucking student and for all the knowledge you already received from it, always present tense, you'll start getting knowledge from that deity. That's how the witchcraft way. But you don't you don't have to do it like that. You can start making candles every night when you're doing your neophyte, saying you're so grateful for all the spiritual information that you need to spiritually evolve, for all the spiritual information that you receive on how to manifest an abundance of money, monetary, promissory notes, credit, whatever the fuck you want to call money. And once again, just like when I use all the different names for like Jupiter or Moon or Venus or whatever the case is, I do that for money. Financial, currency, monetary, money, cash, every fucking name, promissory notes, whatever. Every fucking name, debit, interact, every fucking name there is for money. I mean, maybe not credit, because if you get a lot of credit, then you have to pay it back, right? But every fucking name for that, you just ask for the knowledge by being grateful that you already have the knowledge. You're putting energy into the astral that you know how to fucking manifest money. And you write on the candle, and you're going to get that knowledge. But guess what? I already told you. You write on the candle that you're grateful for what you got, and you'll get it. Now, if you can't do the writing on the candle way like I do it, because I can just write that, I am grateful I received blah, 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 and I will receive that. You know what I mean? Maybe that won't work for you yet. Maybe it will. I think it would. I think it really would. But you can do the sigil on there. And you can do all the traditional sigil ways. That same sigil, you stare at it, get so much energy into it, to the masturbating way, which shoots it right into your mind at the point of ejaculation. You burn that, and now you no longer have that symbolic representation. And then it comes down to you. That's how you manifest money. That's not necessarily giving you, like always having more money as you get older. But these are all the ways to manifest stuff into your reality. What's up? Okay. Love you. My little daughter. But these are all the ways to manifest money. But once you get that knowledge, because I give that to you, but you're better off to do it yourself. And, there might be an easier way for you to do it. You might have your own way. So you can use my candle way to get the information from your subconscious mind. The best way from you, ask your ancestors, ask the deities, ask the planets, whoever you want to ask, okay? What's the best way for you to manifest money? And it might be a whole different thing. And it'll probably work better for you your way. You know what I mean? This works best for me. Writing straight up on the candle. That's my way. I haven't met anybody yet who does that or seen that anywhere, who writes their whole statement of intent on the fucking candle. And who has a sigil of their magical name. Like I have a magical name, right? I don't tell anybody. And I programmed into my subconscious mind that whatever I put my magical name on manifests. Okay? So that's what my magical sigil is. Put that on the candle after everything, right? I will be harm-free, so mote it be. Then it's Corey LeBlanc, then I write my magical name, and then I put my magical signature. This is all my process. I've been doing this for the last 3 years, and because I've been doing it for the last 3 years, it's so it's repetition over and over and over again, and this is how it manifests on my altar, my portable altar. And I can even do this process only in my mind from my couch, but I'm on my couch, and I visualize myself going to my altar, carving the candle, writing it all out, putting it there, lighting it up. I have everything I need, especially in my head, because you can have everything in your head, right? And then I put that, and I do my whole fucking thing. I see myself doing the pentagrams. I see myself at my altar, but I also see myself now in space, because technically when you're at your altar, you have to visualize yourself in the cosmos. So for me, it's no different being at the altar, visualize yourself cosmos. And the second time I do my ritual in a day, if I'm on the couch with my wife, with headphones on, maybe I have the microcosmic orbit thing playing in the background. Maybe I have a recording of me doing different rituals on, and I'm going along with it because I'm really tired. So this way, if I fall asleep, it still gets done. These are all little tricks I did, and they work phenomenal. But you can ask your mind, and you'll get these ideas as well. It can all be revealed to you. But the first step is getting that connection. And I think you can meditate every single day of your life, but if you are still polarized, if you don't try to work on becoming depolarized at least a bit, it's going to be very hard because you're too strongly attached to the left or the right or the up or the down for you to be in the center to get this information, because you'll get the information, but your subconscious can block certain information, or these programs are going to run and you get some information that can help you, but because you're programmed against it, then it's, you know what I mean? And even if you were to get that information, you'd be like, what the fuck? That's bullshit. That's of the devil. You know what I mean? You're just going to shoot it out. So becoming depolarized is more important than you know. Middle pillar, more important than you fucking can understand. Lesser banishing rituals of the pentagram are great for getting rid of all this bad energy, keeping your spot, your place pure and all that. This is why the neophyte is so so important. And you've heard it from Frater and from the book itself. The neophyte grade, there's no harm in doing the neophyte grade and then stopping because you don't call anything to you. So when you start the elemental grades, that there could be issues if you stop after. So there's no harm in doing that. But all this is to say that I never promoted myself, so if you want help, whatever. But all that was to say that Frater Xavier is an add-on to Kabbalah Great Work Self-Transformation. Birch is an add-on to the Inner Temple of Witchcraft, in a manner of speaking, or vice versa. This book is a full year in a day, and you can use it, and it will do great for you. But you don't need to do that stuff. But it helps, because there's techniques and all these things in here that will give you that connection that you need to the subconscious, which then connects you to the unconscious, the collective unconscious, more importantly. Not just your unconscious or where the demons are stored and all that shit, which there's truth to, but I mean the collective unconscious that everybody's connected to. You are connected to all of them, and this is how you manifest things, because for you to get certain things, if you weren't connected to everybody's mind, then you wouldn't be able to get them. And you can say, well, why the fuck? How does that make sense? Well, the shit you're asking for, the money, the health, the healing, how do you think it happens? Okay, so if you need healing and you end up getting the money because you're in the States and you have to pay for health care to get the procedure you need, well, you need the person, whoever, to donate that money to you, or for whatever happened in the banks to happen, or for the government to realize that they owe you some money back. However it works out, all these minds are involved that all of a sudden weren't thinking about you, or even going to look at your file, and all of a sudden come across something and see your file and say, holy fuck, we owe this person money. So they send you that money, and then all of a sudden the doctor who was going to do your fucking thing decides he wants to do one pro bono, so maybe you get to keep the money, or he was busy booked up, but then somebody else ended up healing, or whatever the case was, so he's got an open slot, so they call you for whatever reason, and maybe the person they're supposed to call first, they tried calling and wasn't home. You affected all these people's minds so that your will could be made. And you can say, well, how is that fair? How does that work? Why? Well, you got to stop thinking that this is God's plan, that his plan was to have someone else above you get this done, and that his plan was for you to be poor, and that by you getting money, it makes you rich. I'm not saying that at all. God's plan was for you to figure out how to create your own reality, and every other person within here to create their own fucking reality. And this way it's even. We all have the same rules, so it's even. And you can say, well, people that aren't playing by the rules, then they're going to keep getting fucked. It's like, yeah, that is you. That was you before you started Magick. So stop feeling bad about it. The best thing you can do is start doing Magick and then start telling people about it via YouTube or some platform where people can find you. Because you can't go out there telling people, because they will literally push you away. But if you're going to use this method, then you use it and then you teach it at the same time, so that other people can do the same. So this way, if you are fucking over people that were next in line for something and then you got your way, well, you are offering the same thing that you do to everybody else, so that it's even more even. But everybody has access to this all the time, but their belief systems and their programming's in the way. So that's what you do. Once you get to a certain level and you're comfortable, you find a way. You blog about it. You write about it on the internet. You teach about it. You make audio programs. Whatever the fuck you want to do, you find a way to give back. So the knowledge you received, you pay it forward. You send it out and you use your personal experience as a way to teach. And I think that's going to be it for today. So I hope you enjoy a little bit of the book. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Yeah, I'm not going to, if I say something else, I'm going to keep going. So I'm just going to stop it there. But yeah, Inner Temple of Witchcraft, baby. To all my witches out there, and even magical practitioners, man. If you're doing Kabbalah, Great Work, Self-Transformation, that's fucking awesome. Don't stop it. You don't have to go to witchcraft or anything like that. I like witchcraft. I've always been drawn to witchcraft. I think witchcraft is awesome, because witchcraft is so many things all at once. Technically, Kabbalah could technically be a form of witchcraft. Not really, but you know what I mean. But it's important to be able to have a connection to the earth. And witchcraft very much focuses on earth goddess, moon goddess, you know what I mean? And that's balance. Because if you're doing Kabbalah, Great Work, Self-Transformation, well, it takes all the planetary energies in effect. But you know what I mean? If you are a Christian who focused heavily on the male, you know, the sun and Jupiter, let's just say for simplicity, well, if you added Venus and the moon, you'd be a little better balanced. You know what I mean? I mean, you still don't have fire in there, Mars, and everybody's scared of the devil and all that fire, so you may still be unbalanced there, but you'd be a little more balanced, so it might work out better for you. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed that. Like I said, any questions, any comments, let me know. And thank you, everybody who's tuned into this. Thank you for watching. Fuck, man, yeah. Everybody and anybody who is ready to evolve. Like I said, if I don't do it for you, let me know. I'll point you in the right direction. You don't have to rewatch all my old videos. I'll tell you, I mean, to the best of my knowledge, I mean, I'm sure I won't get everybody I've ever watched, but I'll give you a great starting point, starting list. But Kabbalah and Great Work Self-Transformation plus Frater Xavier is great for ceremonial magic. Birch and Intertemple Witchcraft is great for fucking starting witchcraft. Those aren't the only ways. There's many fucking ways to do this, but those are my 2 ways to learn magic. Witchcraft, ceremonial magic, and thus making ceremonial witchcraft. That's what I do. And you can do it too. You want to use the name, by all means. I don't give a fuck. I'll share my name too. There's somebody else who uses ceremonial witchcraft. I don't know if they're before or after me. And I don't care either. It doesn't matter to me. We can share. I don't fucking care. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't. If someone tells me I have to stop using my name, then I might be a little upset. But I'm not going to tell someone else to stop using ceremonial witchcraft. I said that right in the beginning. If anybody wants to call their tradition ceremonial witchcraft, start a coven, start a fucking class, start school, make fucking whatever, that's fine. Don't say you learned it from me if you're not teaching what I teach. But if you're teaching something or from the people I teach or whatever the case is, I mean, don't steal stuff from other people and then pretend it's your own. But I mean, by all means, do whatever you got to do. But yeah, I want to help people get to that level. I want everybody who realizes that they are creating the reality, at least to a certain extent. You know what I mean? We didn't create the earth and the plants and you know, all these elements around us. But we are creating the circumstances in which we react in this plane. You know what I mean? Both by, you know, literally going and walking places, going to work, walking to the store, and by saying things that are preparing our future actions and things to happen. So if you realize that and you're kind of stuck and don't know how to take control of that or what symbolic ways might work best for you or whatever the case is, and, you know, maybe you did, maybe you didn't already pick up your birth chart, but take the time, get your fucking live birth certificate or live birth time. Okay, there's forms you can fill out and get that information. I'm pretty sure it's still free. It's worth the money, though, if you need to pay money. But at least get a general one without your birth time first to start with to see where they are. I think it's the houses that it really affects. The houses is where the time comes in. Without the time, the houses aren't accurate. But where the planets are and the signs are, it's still accurate. It's one of those anyways. You double check there. It's pretty easy information in Google. If you don't know your birth time, what happens? I'll tell you. Houses are off, something like that. But you can still know where all your signs are and all that. But you get that, and then you don't know what to do. Well, if you are not willing to read the book and you want someone to just tell you how to be evolved, well, you're going to be disappointed because you got to do the work. But someone can tell you the work they did, and then you can do that same work to get that connection. And from there, your mind will fucking guide you the rest of the way. I'm telling you. Just got to point your mind. It's a fucking beautiful, beautiful, amazing machine. And wherever you point your mind at, you tell it, this is what I want to know. It'll give you everything. That's why the meditation focusing on a point, that's in the book of all the Great Work of Self-Transformation that Frater Xavier promotes. That's the whole point of it. You sit in one spot, focus on that point. You don't let your mind go to anything else but the point you pick. It could be a dot on a wall, it could be a nail, it could be where there's a chip off the paint, it could be, anything. You can look at your fucking fingernail, find a bone on your fingernail, or anything. It doesn't matter. Look yourself in the mirror and pick a fucking blackhead or a pimple. Doesn't matter. And you just let your mind tell you everything about that fucking point. And that's the point. Is you can't get to point A and point B unless you know everything about point A and point B. And the way to get your mind to be able to focus on one thing at a time and not try to multitask and be dumbfounded and overwhelmed by focusing on one thing at a time, which there's a great TED Talk about what your mind can do, but trying to multitask is detrimental to it. And by doing one thing at a time and then challenging your mind and learning, and it really amps it up and whatever. But this concentration meditation is probably not the single best thing I ever did, but one of the things I think that really helped me the most, because if I point in a direction, I want to know something about something and I can't find it out. It's something, depending on how big it is of an idea, sometimes it's within hours, sometimes it's within the days, very seldom able to take me a week to learn about something. That's why most of the time I just come out here and start talking, and then while I'm talking, a subject will present itself, and then it's okay, that's what I want to talk about. And as I keep saying stuff about that, more info. And I'm telling you, I think it has a lot to do with that whole meditation on a fucking point part. You are concentrating on one single thing, and it gives you a reason, because trying to empty out your mind completely is hard, because then you got nothing to focus on. Your mind wants to focus on something, and you're trying to focus on nothing. So it's much easier to, blank wall with one little dot. Maybe you put a pencil mark there, and you got to see it or something. You made a little circle there. Well, one little dot on the wall. That's the only thing you're letting your mind talk about. So what you're doing is training your mind to calm itself, to not be always trying to focus on everything all at once and thinking about your problems and thinking about work and worrying about this and worrying about that and what's the next thing on the list and am I going to be this and blah, 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 blah. You were saying, no, this is what I want to talk about. So you look at that point and your mind starts telling you stuff about the point, and then that brings you to other things and other things and other things from the point. And you bring it back to the point. Other things, bring it back to the point. By doing this, you'll see every time you bring it back to that point, all the information you're going to get, and you're going to get lost in it sometimes. And then it might be like fucking 10 minutes. It might be an hour. It's happened to me. All of a sudden, you're lost in this big dream that all that information came from one single point. But it's a great way for your subconscious to talk to you. And as you get better, you do this more often, you're able to just look at that point, and then shit will just come in. It's fucking incredible. So, anyways, there's another technique for you. See, I'm giving away a lot of techniques here. Are people going to do them? Probably not, because they didn't pay for it. If someone pays for something, they're more likely to do it because they're serious about it. You know what I mean? But I'm pretty sure there's some people out here that are going to take this advice. They're going to run with it. They're going to do what they need to do with it. And, whether it's 10 people or 2 people, I don't care. I help. I'm satisfied. Anyways, thanks again. Have a great fucking night. Easier said than done, but I think it's time we do that. So, anyways, just hear a little bit more in a little bit, and I hope you enjoy.
Single task. Our brain is exquisitely designed to do one thing at a time, and yet, in our fast-paced, charged life, we literally do 1, 2, 5 things on top of each other. We think it's necessary, and we think it's beneficial. Nothing could be further from the truth. You see, your brain is not wired to do 2 things that require effort simultaneously. It's quickly toggling back and forth from one task to the other, and it's literally being done by hijacking your brain's smartest engine, your brain's frontal lobes. When you're multitasking, you're degrading your brain systems, lowering your mental function, and increasing stress hormones. Single task, and you will see significant increase in mental productivity. Secret 2, inhibit information. In this day of information overflow, we have access at the touch of a finger to massive amounts of information. We are now exposed to 200 times more information today than we had even 20 years ago. Wow. Our brain with so much information, what it does, we thought the more information I take in, the better for me, right? Turns out the highest performing individuals are not those who can remember the most, but rather those who know what to block out, what to inhibit.
Reject, banish, deny. Also turn the fucking TV off. That's what she means there.
What to bounce from the get-go, and just to focus on the few things that they're doing. Secret 3, detox distraction. One of the most common questions that I get asked is technology good or bad for your brain? And I say, yes. Right? Because, it's not technology in and of itself that's bad for our brain, but it's that we let it control us, that instead of us managing it. We can't even stand to be without our cell phone for a single minute. And some of you are sitting there and it's beeping and you're buzzing and you're looking at it because we've become addicted to the ping of our technology. Right now, science is showing that we work only 3 minutes uninterrupted. How can you do high-level thinking in just 3 minutes? Way too much. We're working with major corporations now to teach them how to increase their mental productivity, and the secret that they have the most trouble with, that they want the most help with, is detoxing distractions. Okay, now this is the really big one. This is the powerhouse. Big idea thinking. Big idea thinking is the supreme unleaded fuel for your brain. And big idea thinking is not a supercharged computer that can do big data storage and then retrieve it when you want it. No. Big idea thinking is when you take in ideas from disparate areas, you combine it with your rich knowledge that you already have, and you form some generalized higher level way of thinking. So some of the ways that we do big idea thinking is that you synthesize. How do you extract the essence of talks that you hear or news stories that you hear? Synthesize or interpret. How many times do we have books and books and books and we can't remember if we read them or not? Because we didn't interpret the message. Interpret. What does it mean? What's the bottom line meaning? And 3, powerhouse transformative communication. Think about emails that you write. What does your subject line say? Is it boring? Is it rote? Is it anyone can write? Meet me at 2. What if you came up with a transformative subject line that was so powerful everyone wanted to read it? And then what about the message? How often do you just do a deluge of information without really saying something that shows your deeper level thinking? Big idea thinking is what makes your memory and thinking and learning the most robust. I've shown in randomized trials, when you engage in big idea thinking, you increase your brain at all levels of health. Think about increasing your brain blood flow by 8 to 12%. That's really happy for a neuron to get more brain blood flow. We also showed 30% increase in the speed of neural connection across the central executive network, which is what's important for planning and reasoning and problem solving. Big idea thinking is for the brain what push-ups and pull-ups are to the body. Secret 5, and this fits in with balance. Calibrate. Calibrate how much effort you're going to spend on things. So many times, all of us, our mental energy at the end of the day, you're so mentally exhausted, you're thinking, oh, brain, please jumpstart again for me tomorrow, because we spend too much time on things that we should do very quickly, or we don't take enough time on things that we should really spend longer on. One of the phrases that I like to tell individuals is, when you're hunting elephants, don't waste your mental energy chasing rabbits.
Give me a second.
So do your rabbits quickly, but take time to do your elephants, your weighty things. And for the most individuals, the elephants need to be done when your brain is in its prime time. And that typically is the first 2 hours of the day for most people. Secret 6, innovation. And I loved, our brain is really wired to be inspired from young till late life. Every single day, it likes to create something new, jump start. It hates status quo. It quickly goes backwards on rote. But when you start innovating on things, your brain starts firing on all cylinders. Think even about your conversations that you have with loved ones. How boring are they sometimes? Hey, honey, how are you doing? What's going on? Blah, bye, goodbye. What if you innovate? Could spark a little romance. Secret 7, motivation. Motivation always trumps talent. So many people have so much talent, maybe ourselves included, but could spark a little romance. Secret 7, motivation. Motivation always trumps talent. So many people have so much talent, maybe ourselves included, but we don't live up to our full potential. One of the key ingredients that typically is missing is motivation. And you say, well, motivation is elusive. I mean, it's not like you can flip a switch and say, hey, brain, get motivated on something you hate, right? It's easy to be motivated when you're doing something you're passionate about. Well, one of the secrets to motivation is using some of these other strategies. Think about a task that you don't like, and what if I said, I want you to take this task and innovate a little bit. Why don't you change it and make it a little bit more interesting? If you get the person to put some brain in the game, they're going to get motivated. Innovation fuels motivation. Motivation injects in our brain the most powerful neurotransmitter, dopamine. Dopamine in the right balance makes us happier, and it increases speed of learning. Motivation is the fuel that makes you make the impossible possible. 30 years, I now know that our brain can do so many things that we aren't doing. My dream is that every single person put their brain at the front of their life. You need to realize that you are the driver and you are the mechanic of the most powerful engine in the whole world. What a responsibility. Take these 7 secrets and supercharge your brain. Because without brain health, you do not have health. Thank you.
Plus, that's one of the Nazis escape. I'm not saying that bickering over flat Earth versus gold Earth down here. Half the people think the fucking shit's flat. Well, it's like, well, they're totally not going to be ready for no, it's round. Plus, there's an inner Earth. Plus, that's one of the Nazis escape. I'm not saying that shit. I mean, that's part of my beliefs, but I don't try to force those beliefs on anybody because it's just something that really doesn't serve you. Unless you're going to go try to get to center Earth or inner Earth, it's not going to do anything for you, right?